good afternoon. We should be starting in 2 minutes with Ajay and Vivek ji's permission.
Ajay sir, if you can send a message again so that they are able to join. We
Madam,
just have to...
just now I sent the message before you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
So Vivek, did it rain in Chandigarh also, or?
It hardly rained in Panchkula. I believe it rained in Chandigarh. It's a bit different now. So in the monsoon, what happens? It rains in one sector and doesn't rain in another. So it's a bit like that. And Panchkula is still hot. We have had very little rain and hoping for more.
Yeah, let's hope. They're predicting rain tomorrow. So let's hope it starts raining and the weather gets nice.
By the way, we are already in the news with our MOU. I just got a link from Vipin ji, so that's very nice.
Excellent.
And it's going to
I'd
the
also like
Express.
to. There was also some very good news. So there was a ranking done by one of India's leading education magazines.
SQS.
There's an education magazine called Education Post. They ranked Shulini as the 13th best private university of India. So we are very honored for that.
Wonderful.
So so I think it's another 30 seconds and we will start. Shikha, Kamal. So once again, good afternoon. So Vivek, if you allow me, Ajayji, if you allow me, should we start?
Please go ahead.
Yes.
So,
excellent. So good afternoon, teachers. Good afternoon, Vivek sir. Good afternoon, Ajayji. Welcome to Ideas That Matter, series of webinars by Shulini University, Kasoli Hills, Himachal Pradesh. It's an honor to be here with you today, and it's my delight to host Mr. Vivek Atray, ex-IS officer, TEDx speaker, motivational speaker, author of many, many books, 3 books for sure, and also the brain behind the IT Park of Chandigarh. Visiting professor at Shulini University and also dear friend and advisor. So Ajayji, quickly, my background, I am Atul Khosla. I am the Pro-Vice Chancellor and founder of Shulini. I'm a BTech from IIT Kanpur and I did my MBA after that, spent 20 years in the industry. And post that, I joined Shulini full-time where I teach. I'm also the dean of the business school. I love teaching. I'm a very proud teacher. And it's my honor and delight to speak to all of you today on this absolutely wonderful topic of nuances of leadership. Who else is better than talking about leadership than Mr. Vivek Atray, who has been leading many, many teams and continues to lead people through being a role model. So Vivek will be talking about his thoughts. I'd love to share some ideas from my learnings of being a leader or being with great leaders over the last 30 years of my experience. But before I start, I'm going to request Ajayji to speak for a minute or so, introduce his school, which I've heard is a wonderful school in Navashahar. But we'd love to hear more about the exciting work that you're doing, Ajayji, from you. So over, Vivek, take us through the session.
Okay, thank you, sir. I'm the principal of a Satluj Public School. It is the oldest school in Banga. Almost we are completing 45 years. Wow. And regarding the education as well as the other activities, sports, we are heading in the district. And I think so we are trying to give a better education to the students. So we are trying our level best so that the students, those are taking education, they should be successful in their life. So we are trying. So it is our part that for the society and our management, they are also having a good educator. So that is their motive. So we are just promoting that. So this is the small introduction about our school, and our students also, they are good and they are in each and every field, even though in the abroad also, in the local area, even though in the Chandigarh or Delhi, they are at a higher level, those who got the education. So from last 45 years, the school is maintaining its position. So I think so it is a great pleasure for me that I am the principal of this school. So this is all about our school, sir.
Thank you, Ajay ji. It's wonderful to talking to you and your teachers. Such a prestigious school, and it's an honor. And like I did say, Shulani is also one of North India's leading universities, and partnering with Satluj Public School is an honor and delight. I won't take more time. I'm going to hand it over to my dear friend Vivek Atray for this wonderful discussion today. Vivek, over to you.
Thank you very much, Atul ji and Ajay ji, and it's a wonderful pleasure to be here at this Ideas That Matter series. Speaking to Satluj Public School Nawashehar is a special pleasure. I've been to that area and I know the area, although I served in Haryana cadre of IAS. I resigned 2.5 years ago, but I've been there. And I also know somebody who belongs to that area, is very close to me, Mr. VK Kapoor, former additional DG of Haryana, who I look up to, is a very fine gentleman. He keeps speaking fondly about Nawashehar. And I know that the sweets over there are very, very tasty. And I know some besan barfi and all Ajay ji knows very well. Nawashehar has great sweets. But let us talk about the topic. Since I am from the IAS, I am a little bit aware about leadership and what the nuances. Now, nuances basically mean the finer points of leadership or some fine tuning that is needed in leadership. Atul, Khosla and I have been conducting these webinars with schools all over North India and even as far as Calcutta. I believe we'll be going to Gujarat also for the last many weeks. And we have crossed 55 or so webinars. Wonderful to be linked to this series as a speaker. And it is very inspiring to speak on different topics. This particular topic, leadership, is very, very important. I'm glad you have chosen this topic. And let me first start by saying that all of us are leaders. Not only teachers, not only the principal, but also the students are also leaders. And politicians are not the only leaders in the country. In fact, at times, politicians are not leaders. So let me say that students, even those who are in class 1, children of such a young age, they might be leaders for children who are 2 years younger than them. So a 6-year-old becomes a leader for a 4-year-old. A 5-year-old becomes a leader for a 3-year-old. And the 3-year-old looks up to the 5-year-old and follows exactly what the 5-year-old does. So the leadership qualities of that 5-year-old, 6-year-old, they start developing at a very young age. I remember as a child when I was made the captain of my team, whatever cricket we used to play at age 7, 8, I used to feel very important. You know, 2 teams used to be selected and toss and everything, and we used to play. And captaincy is a great leadership role, and it brings out all your qualities which should be there. So if you look at leadership, it is something which is understood, but not really in detail. People know that, you know, leaders are supposed to inspire, leaders are supposed to lead with example, but they don't really go into detail. So what is leadership for teachers and educators? Educators have to be inspirational role models for the students and for junior teachers, perhaps. Therefore, they have to lead by example. So leadership is about being an example for others. It's not possible for us to go on telling others what to do and then not do it ourselves. So I often give the example of parents who tell their children, don't cross the red light. Now you're 18 years old, you're driving. Don't cross the red light. But you have been crossing your red light all your life. Then you cannot expect the children to follow. So we have to be the example that we want to be and we should be. And for educators, it becomes all the more important. First, let me say that educationists are undervalued in society. It is a very, very important role that teachers are playing. They are actually nurturing the future generation. They are nurturing the future of India. They are inspiring students. Students first come into contact with the outside world through the schools. And from homes, they come to school and they see new people. They see new children, new teachers, new people. So they learn even from the gate man, even from the rickshawala, even from the paniwala. So they watch everything. And when children are growing, their personalities are dependent on the kinds of people they have interacted with. So if I give this example, then teachers become even more important. When they are in the classroom for 1 hour or 40 minutes or whatever it is, their personality really, really impacts the students. And all 40 students are looking at the teacher. The teacher is only looking at a group, but all those eyes are on one person, and that is the teacher. So that leadership quality of the teacher becomes of paramount importance, great importance. So what we must do, I know it's difficult, but we have to set an example all the time. 365 days, 24/7, we have to be leaders. As an officer, I often said to my junior officers, and I still go and train officers in Missouri in the IAS Academy, linked Institute, NCGG, National Center for Good Governance. I tell them that you cannot be a leader in the daytime and at night you play the fool and you become somebody else. If somebody calls you up at midnight and says, sir, I need help, you have to show your leadership qualities at midnight or at 3 a.m. also. So that is something which leadership has to have. It's not difficult. If you become that person that you aspire to be yourself and that you want others to be, students to be, then it's easy. A principal, for example, or a head teacher, or a house teacher, or a class becomes an important person. And the way she or he handles her own personality is very important. So a few tricks, and I'll show you a small couple of slides after that, after the interval when Atul will come and speak about his ideas on leadership. I will just share a few tips before that. The first tip about leadership is leadership has to be calm. Calmness. Calmness means I don't lose my temper all day long. I don't lose my cool. I don't panic. These are very important qualities of leadership. The nuances of leadership include calmness, stability of mind. There's a very good example which Paramahansa Yogananda gives, and Yogananda ji is the author of the autobiography of a yogi. In fact, I have the book here. It is a great spiritual book to read, and many of you may have seen it or read it. Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda. I follow his teachings. Atul follows his teachings. There is a Yogananda library in the Shulini University's beautiful campus. He says that it is very important to be calmly active and actively calm. It is very, very important for us to carry that calmness into all that we do. And we also have to be like a pendulum, he says. A pendulum swings into action. And the pendulum, everybody, science students know, ultimately it will stop at the center of calmness. When the pendulum is stable, it is right at the center of calmness. Even our minds, they have to swing into action. Body, mind, and soul has to swing into action and work and do whatever. The moment the work is over, we have to swing back to calmness. We can't remain in a state of excitement or agitation or, going on recharging and charging ourselves up. There are times when the mind has to rest. So stability of mind. The next is emotional intelligence, which means understanding your own emotions, understanding others' emotions, understanding how people behave, understanding people from different backgrounds, different economic backgrounds, different geographical backgrounds. So understanding how people will behave in front of you. And linked to this is control of your own anger, your own irritability, your own moods. If you can control your moods, then you have superior emotional intelligence. Leadership is like being like someone like MS Dhoni. Dhoni is a prime example of calm leadership. How he could remain unruffled even when they went very well, winning the World Cup, he wasn't jumping. He was smiling. But when they lose also, he's all right. So remaining calm and unruffled like Dhoni is something which can be a great example. And then leadership has to be about great communication. How you communicate your own aims, objectives, whatever goals to the team and inspire them to do exactly as they should for the organization. Communicating inspiration. I am inspired, but I'm not able to inspire my team. There's no point. I have to show by example and by my words and by my deeds that how they also should be inspired. Fauji, army officers do that very well. A lot of people go from Nawashahar and other places to the army. All these army officers, they lead by example. They communicate their leadership goals to others. So these are some ideas on leadership. I'm going to pass on the mantle to Atul Khosla to share his ideas on leadership. He's the leader of a university and co-founder, pro-vice chancellor. A lot of leadership qualities needed, Atul.
Thank you, Vivek. I think extremely inspiring. My three thoughts are going to be around collaboration, inspiration, and creativity. I think a great leader is able to make ordinary people extraordinary. As teachers, we pride ourselves about those wonderful students we work with. And many of my teachers also say, this was a brilliant student that I taught, and now this student is at MIT or Stanford or Harvard. And I tell them that making exceptional students extraordinary is easy. But the real challenge of a great leader is to take ordinary students, ordinary people, and make them do extraordinary things. So great leaders like Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King or others that we know were able to do that, Vivek. They had the power. And how they could do that was, like I said, bring inspiration into these students or these followers of theirs, bring in creativity, push them to do fearless things, and finally to bring collaboration into how they worked. Also, I think I'd like to bring in the thought of purpose. People with a purpose end up doing way more better things than people without a purpose. And that purpose cannot be helping oneself. The purpose has to be bigger and brighter than that. I remember an example of a very dear friend of mine, Vivek, who was trying to get into the IAS. His name was Sandeep Kumar. The other guy, there's another guy, much more brilliant than him. He used to be scoring way more marks than Sandeep, guy called Akash. Akash wanted to be an IAS because he thought being an IAS was a great thing to do, while Sandeep had his purpose very clearly laid out. He wanted to serve society. And ultimately, it's Sandeep who made it to the IAS and not Akash, largely because of the fire in the belly that comes across when you have that particular purpose. So at this juncture, I'd like to share a video of Aman, a student of ours who incidentally comes from a village very close to Nawashahar. She comes from a lesser privileged family. She was not the most brilliant student, but has done something exceptional in her PhD. She has discovered a molecule which, when added to water, kills bacterial activity by 99.9%. She is changing the way the world drinks water. She's been awarded as a UN, a United Nations Young Water Fellowship. Hundreds of thousands of researchers apply for this, and it's Aman who's made it. She spent 6 months in Geneva. She's won a 25 lakh Tata Trust Award, etc., etc., etc. And how she did it was because of exceptional leadership that her guide gave her. Leadership pushing her to think outside the box, being inspired to go out and collaborate, and finally bring in huge amount of creativity with a sense of purpose into her work. So here is Aman's story, and then I'll hand it over to Vivek for his last words. Vivek, can I play?
Sure, please.
Dear teachers, if there's one thing I would like you to remember, it's going to be how do we take our ordinary students and make them do exceptional things? And trust me, that's doable. That's the passion that we have at Shulani. We might not get students who are the same caliber as IIT in the conventional sense, but we get some good students, and these guys create magic. We are today India's #1 patent filer with more than 200 patents every year, way ahead of IIT Chennai that does 140 patents a year. And this is all done by these students. So inspiration, creativity, purpose, and fearlessness is what we need to get this done. Vivek, over to you. I'd love you to talk a bit about meditation because that's the trait of a great leader too. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Atul. Lovely points, very inspiring, and absolutely I agree. Collaboration, creativity, inspiration. Very good points. I'm going to show you a short slideshow in a while, a couple of slides from my PPT on leadership. But before that, what Atul said, you see, we have to work on ourselves. And all of us are going through a life journey which is dynamic, which is active, which is hectic. Even in Navashehar, life is not slow. I'm sure your lives are busy when you are teaching, even now through online teaching or whatever you're doing. You must be busy. And you have to multitask, you have to be multidimensional. Some ladies are looking after the kitchen, then they're looking after the children, and in-laws and family, and neighbors are also coming, whatever it is. And then they also have lots of duties of school. And if you in that, you have to take out time for yourself. Because ultimately it is about self-motivation, learning continuously, improving yourself continuously. One of the stories that I'd like to tell you is the woodcutter story. Very simple story. The woodcutter was told that you can cut as much wood as you like, and from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. that wood will be yours. And from 8 a.m. onwards, he goes mad, cutting. 4 o'clock, he's so tired and almost dropping dead. And his axe is blunt. He's not able to cut much wood now. 4 hours still to go. And he's mad with that desire to cut more wood. Some passerby tells him, why don't you rest for half an hour, take a break, have some water, food, and sharpen your axe. And then in the remaining time, you can cut much more wood. But he doesn't listen. He goes on cutting madly and collapses. So what is the point of running without rejuvenating and renewing yourself? So you have to keep upgrading your skills. In the IAS, we have some training programs which I attended. After I resigned, I have become a speaker. Now I am on the other side, telling people how to rejuvenate and train, retrain themselves, how to unlearn and learn new things. One of the things we need to do is to recognize where we are lacking, whether it is anger, whether it is restlessness, whether it is lack of patience. Whatever it is, once we introspect, sit down, think deeply and realize, then we start working on it. And let us be harsh on ourselves when we are introspecting. There's no point being soft on yourself. We are not children anymore. So we need to be harsh. Of course, some students are also watching. They can also be a little strict with themselves as to what they need to do to improve. So if you lack confidence, it is time to work on that confidence. If you lack communication skills, every day you must practice your communication. If it is anger management, then you must focus on anger management and try and improve your anger management, which means reduce your frequency and intensity of anger. And I talk about this lockdown period. Are we going to come out of this lockdown, which is now in unlock 1 or unlock 2? It doesn't matter. Are we going to come out worse than we were before? Are we going to come out the same as we were? Or are we going to come out better? So let's come out better by working on ourselves. One of the ways is meditation. Meditation, morning and evening, will make us more calm, more aware of ourselves. It will also mean that we are fulfilling the purpose of our life, which is in the scriptures, it says in all religions, the purpose of life is to find God, is to find true happiness in God. All religions will say the same thing. Spirituality is above religion. It helps you to connect deeply with it. So we go within, we meditate, we sit quietly, we contemplate, then we say our prayers, read our scriptures, whatever it is, we do that. So find out time for meditation, even if you are only 25 years old now, you may be a young teacher, or even 18 years old, you may be a student, or 12 years old also. It is time to start thinking of 5-10 minutes of meditation. That calmness which comes from just sitting, watching your breath, perhaps noticing your breath coming in and out, focusing on the point between eyebrows, whatever technique you follow, whatever practice you follow, it's up to you. I follow something called Kriya Yoga. Kriya Yoga gives me a lot of peace of mind and energy, calmness. To meditation practice, and CEOs who meditate, it is said by Harvard studies, are more successful than other CEOs. I'm sure the same is true of principals and teachers. Otherwise, we start getting irritated by this and that. Very, very important factors. One story I'll tell you before I hand it over to Atul again. This is the story of a cricket team which was not believing in itself, which was losing, and India is that team, as you know. The 1983 World Cup, we had 37 years of the World Cup victory now this year on 24th June. You know the story when Shrikant and Kapil Dev and Vengsarkar and all came on TV recently. Shrikant told the story that only Kapil Dev believed that we could win the World Cup. All others, we had lost the first two World Cups in the first round easily. So all others had booked their tickets from London to USA. In the middle of the World Cup, India to London, play the first few matches, likely to be knocked out, go to USA, enjoy, come back. Many of them had to cancel their tickets to USA because they kept winning. They lost only one match in the league. They were losing to Zimbabwe. The captain, Kapil Dev, played an innings of 175 not out, which you know about. And it was the greatest innings ever played at that time. He went on to inspire the team to reach the quarterfinal, semi-final, final. Even in the final, look at the leadership. Look at the story of the Indian team which reached the final. And they were also saying that we were happy to reach the final. Now we are against West Indies. So Shrikant says, how are we going to beat these guys? They had beaten them in the league also. They had beaten them in the West Indies also. So indications were there. But in this match, India was 183 all out and capitulated, collapsed. Now for West Indies to score 184 seemed to be easy. But steady bowling, brilliant fielding, especially Kapil Dev's catch of Vivian Richards. And then the rest is history, how India's bowling, fielding won the World Cup final of 1983. India believed in itself after that. Till then, we didn't believe in ourselves. Hockey gold medals of earlier times were the only silver lining. But as a nation, we were a little shy, meek. Now we realize that we can actually make an effort to win in life. We became true leaders. Kapil Dev was not trained as a leader, but he became a leader. So this is what I wanted to share with you, all these leadership ideas and traits and nuances. I'll show you a couple of slides once I come back for the last word. And then before that, I think Atul has another inspiring point, and then he has some video to show you. Atul.
Thank you, Vivek. Inspiring stories. I remember the day when India won the World Cup. What a beautiful day it was, and who believed in India. And this is actually the story of underdogs, Vivek. There's a beautiful book which is called David versus Goliath.
Yes.
We all know the story. David was a shepherd and Goliath was a big giant. And when the two of them came to fight with each other, David defeated Goliath. The chances were 1 in a million. And that's what happens in real life too, Vivek. And that's what this guy talks about, the author talks about. Every time that you see a David competing with a Goliath, but adopts a new strategy, has the purpose in life to defeat the Goliath, and comes up with the belief that he can, magic happens and the David wins. And this is the magic of smaller town children. This is the magic of students from Nava Shahar or Solan or the smaller towns of India. I call these the belly of India. I call these students the future of India. If these students do not succeed, India will not succeed. So as teachers, I think it is our responsibility to make these students succeed, these lesser privileged students succeed. And for that, we need to bring in, like I said, inspiration into their lives. And inspiration can come as leaders from us, as leaders who are teachers, or from administration, from creating beautiful places, give them inspiring talks on a regular basis, and inspiring and making a sense of purpose in these students. I'm going to show a small video about Shulani at this juncture because we work a lot with students at this particular stage, Vivek. If you allow me, I'm going to show a small video about Shulani, and hopefully that's also going to make all of you very jealous of where I'm sitting right now. So Vivek, great leaders also dream big. And great leaders have an unflinching belief in their dream. When I look at Dr. Khosla, who set up Shulani, and I hope you guys were inspired by our campus, and he said, I want to build one of the world's best universities in Solan. We all laughed. As his son, I also laughed at him. Then he established a university. The cynics then said, okay, you've built a university. पहले हिमाचल में तो number 1 होकर दिखाओ. पहले सोलन में तो number 1 होकर दिखाओ. Lots of universities in Solan. There was Chitkara University, JP University. So then we did well and we became number 1 in Solan. And then some people said, Himachal mein to number 1 hoke dikhao. We are now number 1 in Himachal by far, by miles. And then someone said, North India mein to 1 hoke dikhao, which we again achieved. And now people are saying, Pehle India mein the top university hoke dikhao. So I think the journey and the goalposts keep changing, but that unflinching desire for excellence and that unflinching desire and the purpose of the dream is so important for great leaders. And great leaders give that purpose to their followers and make sure that these ordinary citizens end up doing extraordinary work. So these are thoughts that I have. I'm a very big believer in dreaming big, quality, creativity, inspiration. And I think if these are the type of things we can bring in into our students, they'll do magic. I'll just give a small story of me. I grew up in Solan. I'm a small town boy. My parents are as middle class as it gets. They are teachers. I had no chance to make it to the IIT. In fact, when I went to my college principal, asking him for some relief in my timetable, he laughed at me saying, I do not think a 74% mark guy can ever get into IIT. The odds were against me because there was not a single student from Himachal who had ever made it to IIT or cleared the JEE. For some reason, I don't know why, I took up the challenge and I worked extremely hard, of course, and I put in a lot of passion into it and I made it to IIT Kanpur. I am so proud I could do that and I could show the way. After me, so many students from my college, Government College Solon, who then went into the IIT because I've opened the paths. And I think that's possible, that's doable with the right belief. And that's what every student and every teacher can do. Vivek, over to you for your last thoughts.
Thank you, Atul. Very, very inspiring. In fact, Dr. Khosla's story is another amazing story of leadership. The underdog again, just like 1983, when you don't expect somebody to achieve something and he does and his team does, it is absolutely a fascinating, inspirational example. I'll just show you a slide or two, which I want to just share. And here it is. So just a sec. This should trying to expand this. Yeah. So just showing you some nuances apart from what I've been talking. These are also important points. A leader also has to be a shock absorber, not a shock creator. If the boss or the leadership is creating tensions for the subordinates, they can create tension by virtue of their demand for hard work, their goals being very ambitious, but not by virtue of just by temperament. So it has to be shock absorbers, and they have to help the subordinates and the students. In this case, your teachers have to be shock absorbers and inspire the teachers, inspire the students to come out of this phase. For example, when they come back to school, then they have to be given that confidence that life will be fine. Teachers have to give that confidence to the students, or that they have to be inspired themselves. Then recognizing, the second point is recognizing different types of personalities is also the trait of a leader. Emotional intelligence will give us that trait. There are silent type of personalities, there are siren type or loud types or aggressive types of personalities. Understanding that each person needs a different way of leading, needs to be led in a different manner. A silent person needs to be encouraged, needs to be given confidence. A siren type needs to be slightly controlled, needs to be slightly handled differently, tactfully. Then delegation of work is also a great leadership trait. These are management points which many management related courses run. Delegating work means that you are able to get work from your team with the confidence that they will be able to execute. And you have to give the person who is capable of executing it, that particular work. You don't give it a task to somebody who's not even good at, let's say, event management. You make him the head of the annual function, he won't be able to do it. Or someone else who's very good at accounts, you give him accounts. So it has to be delegating work to the right person. Then importance and urgency are different from each other. Urgent things are to be done today. They have to be done in the next 1 hour. Important things could be done in the next 6 months, but they are to be done regularly. Like, for example, improving the school's ranking, improving the university's ranking. It's not a one-day job. It's a 6-month job. It's a 1-year job. It's a 6-year job. So we have to work steadily on it. Multitasking is important, but whenever you're doing one thing, we focus on that. I already gave the example of Dhoni and how Dhoni is the ideal example of leadership, how he could be an all-rounder in the sense of doing so many things, and yet he was able to remain so cool and calm and excel not only as a leader, but also as a player. So now I come back to Atul, and we can then take some Q&A. I think I'm also going to show you my book, which is Finding Success Within. And a lot of these leadership qualities are mentioned in this book. It is a book that was brought out in March, and Atul was there at the book launch. 52 life skills for young people, and if I can say so, not so young people also. So I can stop sharing this screen, I think. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Vivek, for this amazing discussion. I'll at this juncture request Ajay ji to also come on for a couple of questions that we can pose to Vivek and you. Ajay, if you're there, we'll appreciate if you can participate. I think we probably lost Ajay. But Vivek, you've been a leader. You've spoken to and led so many people, people who are very senior, who've been in the IAS, technocrats, scientists, and others. Tell us an example of the toughest situation you've been as a leader.
Yeah, it's been a very long journey, many tough situations. I'll give you a couple, let's say one or two. So in Kalka, when I was SDM, which is not far from Solan, on the way from here to Solan, I remember one night when the election took place and the results were announced, and one party objected to a certain sarpanch being elected, local elections, and there was a firing incident. So a person was injured and in the PGI hospital, and these people were on the road demanding the arrest. And liquor was banned, but everybody, or at least half the crowd, was drunk. And it was about 10 o'clock at night. It was tough. I was the SDM, the DSP was there, a young IS trainee officer was there, who was just out of the academy. I was his training officer. So I had to stand on top of the truck, police truck, and talk to the crowd on a loudspeaker. Very tough. I told them, I said, we'll arrest 5 of them and take them to Kalka police lockup. But first you clear this path and let the road traffic open. They wouldn't agree, but we managed to convince them. And those 5 people were arrested. So it was a tough time, I remember. This is one of them. There are many others actually, but I think one is enough for now.
So one more question, Vivek. Who's your role model as a leader? It need not be someone you've worked with, but is there one person that you really admire who you think brings in phenomenal leadership traits?
Yeah, so I must mention my father. I don't often talk about him, and he was an amazing, amazing officer. As a human being, of course, he was very calm and composed. He never used to speak much, and he died at the age of 50. But we saw his years when he was, young and dynamic and outgoing with the police. But he would always remain rather quiet. Yet, when I heard him speak in public as a boy, I went with him once to a function. He was the chief guest somewhere, and he spoke so well on the mic. And I was amazed because I never heard him speak on the mic before. And then I realized, and so many things about him, those qualities as a leader, how he used to talk on the phone to the politicians also. He would tell them, once the chief minister called up and said, so-and-so's name should be taken out of the FIR. पुलिस में ये कर सकते हैं कि उसका नाम FIR में से निकाल दीजिए, 5 लोग अरेस्ट हो जाएंगे, एक नहीं हो. So he told the CM, no, नहीं सर, ये नहीं हो सकता. And I was there, we were there at home, रात को phone आया था. He said, नहीं sir, नहीं हो पाएगा. And the CM was insisting, he said, नहीं sir. And he shut the phone on the CM. So then, leadership qualities.
So did he get transferred after that?
No, he wasn't. He wasn't transferred.
So leaders are respected also for the courage.
Yeah,
right?
he wasn't transferred. He could have been, but he wasn't. Yeah.
Wow, that's a great story, Vivek. I mean, I think values are so important for great leaders. I think all great leaders have super values.
Absolutely.
So we've come to an end. I think we said 45 minutes and time is over. I don't know whether Ajayji you're there, but if you're there, we'd appreciate if you could unmute yourself. And I can't see you, but we'll appreciate if you can come. So last thoughts, Vivek, last thoughts to the dear teachers.
Yes, I'm so glad that teachers and students of Satluj School, Nawashahar could join this webinar. We have been talking about leadership, but ultimately it is about your own human development, your own personality. So work on yourselves, whether you are teachers or students, work on yourselves, work hard to become an improved version 4.0, 5.0 of yourself. Go on improving and becoming a better avatar of yourself as life goes on. And let us go out one day with our head held high, much better than when we came. And that's the policy that you should adopt as a human being and leader. Thank you.
Absolutely. And Vivek, one of the things that great leaders don't do is they don't get stressed at tough times. As they say, tough times don't last, but tough people do. So leaders are tough. And leaders are also not cynical. They see an opportunity in every eventuality. So there's a great opportunity right now. It's an opportunity for students to learn through the online mode. It's an opportunity for teachers to step up and become actors and learn how to teach using new modes of education, such as online. It is an opportunity to learn things that you always want to do, your hobbies. So please do that. I think Ajay ji is there. Ajay ji, if you can switch on your video before we close, we'd love to hear your last thoughts. Absolutely. So Ajay ji, if you can give a last thoughts, and we can then close the day.
Okay, sir. I am really thankful to all the personalities. You given us, I think, so great information to my teachers and the students. I think so. I'm grateful to you people because I think so. Your thinking, your struggling of the life, and way of just motivate the student is grateful. And I think so today you given the information, my students and teachers, they got a good information, and they may be following to you also, and by which they can improve their leadership qualities. As sir, you given the examples, sir given the examples. So I think so it is useful for the students, and we should implement all these things while they're schooling. If because if we will suppose give all these things to the students, I think so they will be a great leader in their field. So I think so today you've given us a very good information, and we will try to improve all these areas, and we will give share these things to the other students who didn't join. Actually, some student, because this time maybe they are because from the morning to that till 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock they are busy in the online classes. So because I just given the message to them to join, but only less students joined this webinar. So I will try that organize one more webinar when they are free. So or maybe we will try to organize on Sunday so that maximum students they can participate, so that they will get more and more information from you people, because you are a great personality, sir. Really, I am very thankful to you. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Ajay ji, and thank you, Vivek. On behalf of Shulini University, I thank Shikha, Sood, and Kamal for making this happen. Thank you so much, Ajay sir. To the students and teachers over here, Hakuna Matata, be happy, don't worry, be safe. And we will look forward to talking to you again, Ajay ji. Thank you very, very much. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Keep smiling.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.